Jason Minix, Rob Thompson, The Blitz.
It is The Blitz here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, on the go at ESPNSA.com. Now more than ever, if you can, go there so you can watch this live. He's Jason Minix. I'm Rob Thompson. If you're there, we're on the right-hand side of your screen. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see James Pleasure on top. And I'd like to welcome on board Mark Singleton of Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds. Post a belated Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to you, Mark. We're glad to have you aboard. Welcome.
Hey, Happy New Year, guys.
It's been a long time, Mark, and this has become one of these popular segments that people stop and ask you about. Like, have you tried this? Or I tried this. I had a friend for Christmas do the deviled eggs that he was telling me about. And we had an idea planned for tonight that included poppers. But you've thrown us a curveball, and I think it's one of those curveballs that, yeah, I'm glad we're doing this one tonight. What, you texted me early this morning and said, can we change the recipe for tonight? And this is what I want to do. Hell yeah, because, man, I've already seen it. That looks fantastic.
Guys, every week we talk about pork rinds being my secret ingredient. It's kind of the thing that we throw in there to give it a little extra this or make it more keto-friendly. This recipe I wanted to cook tonight for my wife and I, and because we had some fresh wild boar come in from our good friends in Kerrville, and I had some red stag sitting around, and I wanted to show people what they could do with a meatloaf and make it keto-friendly and make it delicious, and as usual, smoke it. And this is one of my all-time favorite recipes, and it's very simple. It's just almost like your meatloaf that your mom grew up doing it. If she had killed a buffalo or killed a red stag, killed a wild boar, put pork rinds in here, and then put it on a green egg for 2 hours. It's exactly like that, yeah. but not right.
That's exactly what my grandma did.
People on Facebook, people on the radio are missing this. I mean, this thing has a smoke ring. It has it's just an incredible recipe. And once again, it's so keto friendly. It's so simple. 1 pound of hamburger or 1 pound of ground something, 1 pound of ground sausage. We used wild boar, but of course you can use kielbasa, Jimmy Dean, whatever you'd like. And then just 3 cloves of garlic, 2 eggs, 1/4 of an onion, pepper, half cup of Parmesan cheese grated, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire, 1/4 teaspoon of ground thyme, a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of basil, a teaspoon of sage. Now, that's a lot. The recipe's on y'all's website. The recipe's on our website. I know, James, you've got some pictures of some of the stuff we've been playing with today. And you put all that in a big bowl, mix it together, put it in your pan, just any old baking pan that you've got sitting around. And then tonight, I went ahead and just turned it up a notch a little bit because I wanted a little more flavor, and I latticed it with bacon across the top. I mean, it's like bacon on. And for the thing that makes this so keto friendly, guys, is instead of using crackers or bread like your mom had done, we used our new Casilla chili cheese, Southern Recipe pork rinds. And this acts as your binder. This acts as the kind of the thing that keeps it together and gives it that density that you want in the meatloaf. Mm-hmm. And it really, really brings it together in a very keto-friendly fashion. Now, you can top this. Normally you would top this with a ketchup and Worcestershire and brown sugar. Stay away from brown sugar. It's not keto-friendly. Maybe a drop or 2 of honey, your favorite artificial sweetener, and top this. Guys, you put that recipe in your smoker for an hour and a half, and you've got an incredible dinner to share with your family, incredible dinner. And this weekend for the playoff games, you can make it ahead of time, cut it into thin portions, quarter it up, and make sliders out of it. Ooh. With Gouda cheese. Melt a little Gouda cheese on top of the smoked boar and wild buffalo meatloaf. Put it in little slider buns. Serve it to your friends. I promise you, this is something you can fix ahead. It's something you're going to love. And I guarantee it, this tastes better than any meatloaf you've ever had.
Mark Singleton of Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds joining us on the Blitz. It's our weekly cooking segment. I got a lot of questions. So first of all, let's say I don't have access to a smoker and I was going to just put it in the oven. What is it? $3.50 for an hour?
$3.50 for an hour and a half. You know, whether it's on the smoker or whether it's on, since we're using an indirect fire, an indirect heat, whether it's an oven or a smoker, it doesn't matter. We're still going to do it $3.50. If you notice there on my smoker, I have my fire at the front. I have my pan at the back. I'm indirectly heating it. I'm not cooking it on the bottom, if you will. I'm just smoking. I've got a log separating my fire there. And it's just a way to really keep an overall temperature. And that's what's great about a smoker or a green egg, is it's very consistent temperature inside. And just all the different flavors of onions, the garlic, the sage, the thyme come together with that smoke, it just create a great meatloaf. Once again, that people don't think can have other uses, like putting it in the refrigerator tonight, slicing it thin tomorrow, heating it up on a cast iron, throwing a piece of Gouda on it, throwing it between slider buns. You can knock out 2 dozen sliders, 3 dozen sliders out of that meatloaf, and everybody is just amazed with what they're tasting.
All right, now Mark, as you put this together, you were using some wild boar and some red stag. Now I happen to get a shipment in today that might have a little bit of fallow. Does the wild game matter in this case? Could you take any kind of deer and use this, or is it kind of sticking with the bison?
No, bison, red stag, venison, all of these are good alternatives. They really, they're better for your meats. They're free range. Today we used free range pork as well because we had it. Any pork sausage really works. I'm kind of hankering to try a little ground up brisket in a meatloaf one day and see what that would be like. But I think you can be real flexible. The whole thing is just keep it keto friendly. Don't use added sugar. Don't add a lot of salt. You're adding a lot of ingredients in there already. Maybe a half a teaspoon of salt for that, 2 pounds of meatloaf is all you do. And then once again, don't forget, you've done all this work to keep it keto friendly in this new year where we've all got new diets. We're trying to put on button britches again. I know I am. They say COVID-20. I say COVID-25, maybe. I don't know. So, don't put the sugar in the topping and keep it keto friendly.
And keep in mind the ketchup. If you're a ketchup fan, if you're a ketchup fan on your meatloaf, which I am not, that adds a lot of calories as well. And I appreciate this recipe because it doesn't have ketchup as part of it. You can add a marinara or whatever you like later. But the fact is, for me, a true meatloaf, I don't want that on there. And you brought up the different kinds of meat. We've got the venison, and we've got the boar, the sausage. And that's also going to be key as well. You want to have that pork fat in there that adds that kind of flavor. And what you talked about for tailgating purposes, making that meatloaf into a slider with all of that, that is the way to eat some meatloaf. I'll take it one further. Once you refrigerate it and cut it, give it a little sizzle on your flat top or a cast iron skillet and put that on some good bread. There is no finer eating than a well-made meatloaf like that, especially with the game if you do have some in your freezer.
Oh, it'll amaze your friends. And I think that's why most of us cook is it brings friends and family together still. And in these times, my gosh, we need that more than ever. So, in your COVID safe weekend, watching your favorite team, try this one out. I think you're going to love it.
Now, Mark, out of curiosity, because you got a lot of different flavors going on there, especially with all the different seasonings that you're putting in there with the onions and the garlic and all that kind of stuff. Is there a recommended flavor of Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds that are available at HEB, or is there one go-to, like this is the money one?
Today I wanted to try the Pasilla chili cheese just to see what it is like, but I normally I'd use the salt and pepper for this recipe. It's kind of my go-to for almost everything. I love it on the one we're going to do next week with the mushroom caps and the crab. I love.
What was that?
Yeah, I did say crab. We're going to take mushroom caps. We're going to put crab in, and we're going to put a little cheese up, put pork rinds on top, grill it. Oh man, you're going to love this one. But yeah, we do. Kimchi barbecue is a pretty easy go-to. We did that on top of the grilled oysters, which I think is a wonderful topping for it. You know, you look for something that's kind of to set it off. I almost used apple cinnamon in the pork rinds tonight. Our holiday flavor.
I'm glad you went with the pasilla. I'm glad you went with the pasilla chili. I'm just going to go with you there. I don't know if I'd have liked while wonderful. I don't think it fits my meatloaf palate, as it were. Hey, Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, what we are finding as we've gone through this is they can be used in a variety of ways. And one other way that I do want to bring up, you talked about adding the spices and the flavors inside of that, keeping in mind that your pork rinds are already perfectly spiced. You're adding salt, you're adding pepper, you're adding flavor with that above and beyond the binder. So that can cut down a little bit as you prepare. And certainly the way that the pork rinds are spiced, it does alter the dish's flavor. It certainly does kick it up. And you add that all together. Keto Friendly just is the beginning of what is a spectacular 5-star Beard Award-winning kind of recipe. For any of the recipes that we cover, you can certainly find it at ESPNSA.com. Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, porkrinds.com. You can go there, use this as we face our resolves, as we resolve to lose weight and live healthier. Who'd have thought you could do it so beautifully? And go to ESPNSA.com right now. You'll see a picture of that fantastic looking meatloaf with spectacular bacon on top. Who'd have thought that's a healthy meal? But it is.
I love 2021. Hey, buddy, so good to talk to y'all. Y'all have a wonderful week. We got a bunch of good playoff games. Now, I got to ask one question. I heard y'all going through the Hall of Fame stuff. Did Drew Pearson get in?
He's in. He got in last year. Thank goodness. We can all rest easy.
In typical Drew, delayed into the Hall of Fame. The ceremony didn't happen last year because of all this stuff that we're going through. But when there's a ceremony, my man's going to get a yellow jacket.
You know, that's why I missed it. He did get in, but they didn't have the ceremony.
Correct.
Exactly. Oh, wow.
And there was a bit of a delay, too.
About Torrey Holt, I would say there's no way Torrey Holt can get in if Drew's not in, by golly.
Agreed. Mark Singleton of Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds. Go get your pork rinds. Make your meatloaf. Put that on our website, too. We want to see it. Mark, take care of yourself. God bless you. Stay safe. We'll talk to you next week.
Be good, guys.
Mark Singleton of Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds. And if you're watching live, you'll see the bags of pork rinds in front of me right now. Go try these. Every time I talk with somebody about pork rinds, they go, yeah, I've had them before. I go, I don't think you really have. I don't think you've seen an elevated or had an elevated pork rind that is absolutely healthy, crunchy, crispy, and perfectly flavored. And how it adds to food, I'm continually amazed. We want to thank Mark for joining us and giving us yet one more reason to go get in the kitchen and cook something up